Welcome back, guys, and thanks for joining me. Today we're going to be building a 62 Moss, and I'm wearing my spb545, which is kind of affectionately referred to as the 62 Max. A little bit bigger case, a little bit chunkier, a little bit more modernized. Absolute killer watch, highly underrated, these ones. So what do we have? We've got the 62 Moss case, and then we've got this beautiful kind of teal dial. It is God, I can't, there we go, there's a sunburst dial. This is kind of the Marine Master style indices, but that's okay. I think it'll look great. Originally I was going to use these hands. These are kind of the MM200 style hands, but the loom on those is very white compared to this showed up today, and the loom is quite yellowy greenish. I don't love that. I wish it was white, but that's okay. I had actually ordered a backup set of hands, and these are from the same place, DS Watch Clubs, where I got these from. So same color loom, so we're going to use these. They're a little bit chunkier, a little bit different. Really, there's not a massive difference, and I think it'll look fine. But these are, I think, a little bit sleeker and a little bit more kind of true to form, but whatever. That's kind of the way it goes when you're buying some of these watch parts. So we got our NH35. This just showed up today as well. So let's put it all together. All right, so I'm going to take it off this silicone strap. This is from AliExpress. It's got the quick release spring bars. It's kind of a clone of these, the Seiko Prospex silicone straps, except they've got the quick release spring bars, and these things are so nice. They're like so flexible and soft. They are lint magnets, however, and they've got a metal keeper, whether you like that or not. I think it's cool, but it slides up all the time. So what we do have for it is this bracelet. This is from AliExpress as well, and actually this is the bracelet I've been wearing this on, but it does fit. So same end links and everything, and I'll put a link to this bracelet because it was like 38 bucks, and this is a killer bracelet. Really, really nice. So if you've got either one of these watches, it'll fit great. Okay, so now we'll get this beautiful dial out here. Try to be very delicate with it. This sunburst dials are so delicate, so you got to be very careful. Oh my goodness. All right, so now we got to cut some dial feet. So it's a 3 o'clock crown, so we're gonna go get my marker here. We got to cut off the bottom one there, and pretty sure, God, this is always so hard to try to line it up and figure out which one lines up with the hole. Okay, top one here. There we go. Good enough. All right, we'll go do that off camera, and I'll be right back. All right, so we trim those off, and the way I do it, I use my little end cutters here, and I just nip it off. You can never get it very close with those, and it kind of just pinches it off. And then what I take my Dremel, and you can see I've got a little stone bit, and I'll show a picture of that. Super handy for watchmaking. It's what I use to grind the dial feet, and it's what I use to grind and smooth out stems after I cut them. And so that one's really good. It's small and round, and on the end it's got a flat edge, and then it's got kind of a dished in bowl. And so I literally put the crown in there and kind of give it a zip, and it gets the edges perfectly every time. So that's great. All right, let's put this on. Come on. Oh, that foot looks a little bent. Sometimes these dial feet are bent in a little bit and kind of, you gotta give them a little pinch and straighten them out in order to get them to fit. So let's, there we go. Nice and press it into place. God, that looks good. All right. I'm gonna spin this around again. Every time I move this, I'm gonna spin the date around, or spin the hands around until the date ticks back over, so that I can be sure that it's at midnight. There we go. Okay. Now, let's see here. Grab my piece of Rodico I was using last night. All right. Open these hands up. These little packages are real tricky sometimes. I feel like you end up trying to pry them open and then you spill everything out or whatever, but those stayed in nicely. All right, let's get the hour hand first. And I got a new set of hand pushers, but for the hour hand, I feel like none of these have a big enough tip for the hour hand. And so I am going to use this metal one that I don't love because it seems to mark stuff up. But the area around the pinion on the hour hand is fairly hidden for the most part, and I'll just be delicate with it. Okay. That is on pretty good. Let's give it a little nudge here before we press it into place. Oh, that looks beautiful. Okay. Just make sure we give it our final press nice and gently. Double check the... Oh, that's got to go on quite a bit more. There we go. Heard that nice little click. I don't know if you guys heard it, but I definitely did. Okay. That looks good. There is a little speck. Looks like a little metal speck. Oh, thank God that came off of there. It was on the loom. Now oh, that looks good. Looks real good. It's nice and straight. Spin this around again. Sometimes when you press these on, they get just a hair out of alignment. And so I want to make sure that that's perfectly aligned. You know, the date ticking over at exactly midnight's not that important to me. Let's see, that's going to be my minute hand press. But making sure that everything is lined up when it does hit midnight, that's much more important to me. Okay. Whew. Boy, these don't... Let me grab my old hand press. What did I do with that? Oh my goodness. I just found the one I thought I couldn't find. But that's not the one I need. What did I do with? Here they are. So much stuff on my bench here that you guys cannot see. Thank God. Alright, let's get this in place. Yeah, this like, I've been having a hard time pressing the minute hands on. And that's what I screwed one up last night really bad, and I gotta get a whole new pair of hands. And so I'm not sure if it's the press, if it's me. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, there we go. That one had a nice positive click. Oh, That's beautiful, nice and straight. Oh my goodness, that might be the best ones I've ever done. Kind of hard to see there. That hand stack. And perfectly at the midnight. Wow, that worked out great. Almost by accident. Or maybe it's my skill, I don't know. Let's see what it looks like when it comes back to midnight here. Oh, see the date clicked over just a little early. That's fine. I am rarely, and if I am, it's because I'm out doing something out in the desert. I do like to go cruising around looking for wildlife and all kinds of stuff, spotting snakes on the road and tarantulas and cool stuff like that, looking for scorpions. But if I'm up that late and I'm doing that, I'm usually wearing a G-Shock anyway, so it doesn't matter. Anyways, that's a lot of information for you guys. So I am going to use this metal secondhand press because the tip, and I mentioned this in several of my build videos, but the tip is very fine and it doesn't seem to bend. Some of these, you know, you use one of these plastic ones, the hole's too big and it bends down the tip of the secondhand, and that's no good. All right, so here's where I put my head on the desk and put the secondhand on. So pardon my head in the video. All right, that is in place. And let's just give it a little. There we go. All right, so the hand stack looks good. Checked everything out. Let's spin these hands out of the way. Now we're going to proceed to making sure the dial is spotless. So let's do that. This part's pretty boring, so I'll probably cut it out, but whatever. Okay, that actually went really quickly. Everything was nice and clean, so that's good. I'm going to give my little cushion here a brush off. We're going to pull it out of here. And so to pull the crown out, you got to hack there, just engage the movement, push the little thingy, the little release tab. There we go. The part can be tricky. So now I'm going to take the back off this movement here. I'd actually already kind of mocked this up, which is why the crown is cut. And so I mocked it up the other night and it looked good because I wasn't sure if I liked the case. The bracelet that came with it was trash. Absolute poo-poo. So let's get this in here. See how it fits. Okay. Why does that? Seems a little snug. Come on. Okay, that seems like it's seated in there properly. Maybe. Hopefully. Yeah, that looks pretty good. That movement holder seemed to be a little snug. Ooh, that was a close one. Everything. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you want to push down nice and tight. Take a look through my loop here. And the dial's all the way up against the chapter ring. Oh. Bezel gasket came off. Let's throw that in some grease. I did grease it up the other night, but it's always good practice to grease it every time you move it around. Okay, so that crown seems to be a little off. Yeah, we're gonna have to turn this a little bit. There we go. Okay, so that's good. That looks like it's at the, that looks centered. And when I put this bezel insert in, I did not have, oh, don't tell me that's a scratch on the hard Lex. In this case, no, it's just a stubborn fuzz. So when I put this all together, I didn't have a dial in there that had a chapter ring on it, and this one's got a polished rehot, so no chapter ring on the rehot. And I kind of just had to guess with the, because I mocked it up with my junk movement that's got a bad day, date gears or whatever that I still have to fix. And so no rehot, no chapter ring. And what I did, I'll show you here in just a moment. Let's get this screwed on there. So on the bezel, you've got these little teeth. And what I did is I lined up that loom pip exactly with one of the dips in the teeth as close as I could. And that seems to have worked good. Everything's lining up. Everything looks better than if Seiko did it, if I do say so myself. Let's spin these hands around. Get them at all that. Oh, now you want to hang up on me? What are you? That's kind of annoying. What is going on with the crown won't disengage from, oh boy. Okay, there we go. Now it did it. Spin them back around and see. Okay. So it just seems to bind a little bit maybe when you're re-engaging the movement. I don't know. Could be any number of things. All right. Screw this crown back in, make sure. Boy, this seems to be, I mocked this up the other day because I wanted to make sure everything worked before I did this video. Let's get these things off. Get some blood flow back into my fingertips here. But why does this feel like it's not wanting to? There we go. Okay. I did spin the bezel when I was doing that. When I turn it, your thumb rubs on it. I do the same thing on this one when I'm trying to screw that crown in. I oftentimes do this and I spin the bezel, which is not the biggest deal in the world. Well, that looks absolutely stunning. I'm very pleased with that. Let's give it a wipe with my Kirkland Signature chamois cloth. These things are the best microfiber towels in the world. I don't care what anybody says. I keep them everywhere. That dial color is beautiful. All right, let's get all this stuff out of the way. I oftentimes hang on to all these little things, you know, so that I can reuse them if I have to take parts out and all that kind of shenanigans. Some of that little stuff I throw away though. Okay, so this bracelet took some finagling the other night when I was test fitting it. So let's see if we can get it on tonight. This is an OEM copy from AliExpress, and I'm using fat Seiko spring bars. Okay, so yeah, I may have to do this off video. This thing is a royal pain, and I think it's just tolerances between the lugs and the bracelet, and this bracelet's not made specifically for this model, but it's got the same pattern and the same interior specs essentially. And so it does fit, but it takes some convincing to fit. Oh, there we go. Well, kind of. So one end's in, and then what I have to do is I gotta get in here like this and push that spring bar over and make sure it seats properly. So it is kind of a pain if you want to be taking this off and on, swapping out straps, which I don't really do all that often, and if that's the case, I just won't do it on this one, you know. But let's see if I can make this fit nicely again, like I did last night or the night before whenever I was messing with it. Okay, so that side went in. Checking. So I like to check with my loop if I'm having problems, looking in that little slot there and make sure the spring bar is all the way engaged. Because I've had it where it feels like it is, and it's not. Like this side is not. And eventually it can slip out and come loose because it's kind of just in there with the friction and whatnot. So let's get this one in and seated. Make sure we're good. Yeah, we're not good there. So what I did last night to get this to fit, see there, I actually flipped it around in the other way, and what I'll do, I'm going to do that again, and it seemed to fit better that way. Oops, lucky save on that one. And then I will flip the clasp so that it's not wonky. Okay, see that one fit perfect. Let me check. Yep, spring bar is fully engaged. It's very important. I can't stress this enough that the spring bars are fully extended, because the tip of that thing is not very big and it's even a little bit rounded. And if it's not fully engaged, your watch can and probably will fall off eventually. May not happen right away, but I've learned, especially with some of this AliExpress stuff where fitment is kind of finicky, you gotta be careful and you gotta pay attention. Come on. Okay. There we go. Okay, so spring bar seated fully, like first try there. So I think it's just a fitment issue or tolerance issue. So now what we'll do, because now the clasp is backwards, which some people might not care. I do. That bothers me. So we are going to just take the clasp off like this. And let's flip that around. Put it back together the right way. Come on. This is the most finicky part sometimes. There we go. That one's good. So the sections of Bracelet essentially are universal. There's not like a side. It's just how the clasp is. And you know, I guess you could make the argument that some of that's preference, even though if it's backwards from what the usual is, it's probably harder to take off and close and all that kind of stuff. But you can, like you saw just now, you just reverse the... Oh, come on. Why are you... Just these little... The clasp spring bars are so fiddly sometimes. Why is that going to be such a problem? There we go. All right, so flip the clasp around. Everything is all is well now. What a good looking watch that is. Let's take this one off. Side by side. You can see this one's like almost 43 millimeters. Actually, I think it is 43, but they call it 42.6. And this one is 40. And then the sides of the case are a little bit different. This one's a little bit more flat. This one's got this bottom bevel, like some of the MM200s do. So let's get this one on the wrist. I cannot wait. This thing is, oh, that looks so good. That is beautiful. Now this is not the same bracelet as the OEM 62 Mas. Theirs is more of an oyster with the rounded center links. This is like an MM200 style bracelet. But I love this bracelet. I think it looks so good and it fits this watch great. I'm going to open it up one more micro adjust. When I bought this bracelet, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, it had one of these style clasps on it. Milled scissor, but this really short, dinky little, you know, it's kind of a Seiko style, but these things are so short. And I pull them all off immediately and swap them to this style clasp. It's got 6 micro adjustments and it's way better. It's beefy, it's strong, and I just think it functions much better. God, that thing looks great. Let's go see what it looks like out in the sunlight. Okay, unsurprisingly, it's not all that sunny out. It's actually pretty overcast because we're in monsoon season right now. But that dial still looks fantastic. I wish that lume was a little bit whiter. That's just my preference. The dial does look amazing. This case is great. This bracelet fits very, very well, but it's not the bracelet that came with it. I'll leave a link to both of these, and I'll put some links for the dial and the hands and all that kind of stuff. All the parts. I did run into some issues with the crown and the stem not wanting to engage, but I think after I kind of worked it in and put a tiny little bit of grease on the stem, it seems to work fine now. So that's all well and good. But what a beautiful looking watch that is. All right, there it is off the wrist. So you can see everything. Beautiful brush case sides. An amazing polished chamfer. This case is very nice, and the bracelet fits so well. This bracelet's awesome with these little polished chamfers, just like on some of the SPB models. And what I was going for with this one was the spb545 look. That kind of teal turquoise blue dial. Now that one has the date at the 430. It's a little bit different color, but similar kind of aesthetic. Love how this one turned out. I'll leave links to all the parts. But let me know what you guys think. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. It'd be much appreciated. We're trying to grow the channel, create some more content. Thanks for joining me, and we'll get a lume shot here in just a minute. All right, so here's the new 62 Mas. On the right and on the left is my SBDC053. That lume is pretty respectable. The 053 is like a king of lume level. I mean, like, incredible lume. That honestly is pretty good. The hands are a little bit brighter, probably just because it's a thicker application, but the color on it's good and the brightness is good. I'm pretty happy with that. Charged them both back up fully. That lume pip leaves a little bit to be desired, but that's not surprising. But all in all, I'm pretty pleased with how that lume looks. You know, I don't mind that the hands are a little bit brighter, a little bit different color, A little bit more of a pale green instead of a yellow green. But all in all, I'm very happy with that loom. Thanks again, guys, for joining me, and come back for the next one.